let's hope that we'll really receive an intelligent dope while exchanging notes. We were just thinking how intelligent the innovation could be and how the companies are looking at. So I'm really curious to learn and embrace new thoughts from all of you. So I will divide couple of questions. First, maybe a general questions, and Shiv sir, I will start with you. What comes first when you look at innovations? I mean, obviously, you might look at intelligence, advanced technologies, but how do you see the impact that will create on the ecosystem far more intelligently when you are adopting innovation? I will take this question with you first, and then we'll go with the speaker. Yeah.
So innovation, actually, whenever you start, whether it is intelligent, so there is a the categorization, you can do it like this, whether it is incremental or it is disruptive. Whether it is going to give you the returns in a near time, or it is going to take, it's being a very, very disruptive business model, which will have a naturally the adoption curve. So it will have a, ROI will be slow, or it will take maybe long time to ROI to realize. And the third parameter is like whether it is going to cause a incremental disruption in the experience of that service or a product which you are launching, or it is going to have a larger disruption in the experience. So given these factors, I think these become impact areas as well. So whatever we are creating, whether it is going to have a huge disruption, for example, it's a back office operation. You are going to carry out the automation of certain processes, which any other tool does it, but now you are trying to induct the Gen AI. So whether Gen AI is just going to repeat the same what the usual automation tools have been doing, or Gen AI is going to add, the other superlative things, which is going to have a multilingual support, or it is going to have a lot more intelligent decision making to be done, which only with the fixed set of rules were being done earlier. Or in terms of, you have a scenarios like where you start with a process which is you are cutting only few steps, and that is again any other tool would have done. So it is an incremental. Vis-a-vis, you are changing the entire business model. Say for example, in the customer acquisition, rather than asking the customer to fill up the form, have you designed the conversations like that where the customer would speak contextual that he wants. He just walks into the outlet, or he doesn't walk into the outlet, he just interacts with your digital digital collaterals anywhere, whether they are on mobile, whether they are any form factor neutral, and he expresses his desire that, or his intent that this is the product or service he wants to avail. He does not need to go through the lot of form filling. The bot is able to capture most of the details, at least the initial intent, from the customer. So that is going to be a disruptive, innovation. So I think some of these are the
meaningful, disruptive, designing the conversation for the customer for better seamlessness. Nice points, Shiv sir. Raviji, my point to you now is, how do you define innovation at your company, and what metrics do you follow? Because generally, ROI is always a basic parameter whenever you invest in technologies. But specifically for BFSI companies now, customer experience, business value also matters the most. So how do you define innovation at your company, your bank?
Yeah, I'll probably first touch on your earlier question, right? If innovation is not intelligent, then you lose the plot to begin with. So that's number one. Just to set kind of the context to this answer to this response is, I think, innovation is more, a cultural aspect and a mindset aspect. It has to be weaved into how you work on a day in and day out basis, right? Rather than, looking for that one aha moment. As far as the specific question on ROI, etc. is concerned, obviously, we are in the business of products and services. So we are looking at ROI in terms of, what is the differentiation that, this brings into the market. And therefore, how does it help from primarily two levers, right? Either a customer experience lever or a customer service lever. I mean, you can then drill it down into, further levels of detail. But that's how we generally look at it, saying, what does it do to the customer experience in terms of, ease of engaging with a bank through, a digital channel or any channel, right? And it's not only, the scenario when everything works well, but if there is a drop, then how do you still ensure that it is, relatively seamless in terms of picking up from another channel and taking that original request that the customer had to completion. And the same thing is in terms of the service as well, right? So how do you actually weave both of these together? And we always look at innovation as, like Shiv said, you could have it in two categories, but many a times there's a lot of time and energy spent on that one major disruption, whereas you miss out on smaller innovations that are possible on a day in and day out basis. And the cumulative effect that smaller innovations can bring into the overall objective that you're trying to address from a customer experience and service perspective, adds a lot more value than necessarily just waiting for that one aha moment of a disruption. So you need to focus on both, but let's not forget on what you could do on a day in and day out basis, keeping the customer at the center of the ecosystem. So that's how we do it. And our measurement is all around, customer experience, customer service, complaints, all attributes around it. Because if we are not making an impact there, then innovation could also become academic very quickly.
Sure. Thanks for adding that. Rohit, I will take the same question with you. What are the metrics that you follow when it comes to intelligent innovation?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you. From an innovation standpoint, I think there are two parts of it. One is incremental innovation. Another is a breakthrough innovation. Second part of innovation is obviously around innovation which is embedded into the organization and one which changes the organization. So 2 by 2. Based on this, when it comes to metrics, right, one conventional way of looking at metrics is the ROI. How do I do it faster, better, cheaper, right? And you get an ROI around it. There is a second metric or a second objective of innovation, which does not fall into the realms of metric, right? If you need to build something which is completely innovation, which is completely new, there is no ROI to it. So there is a balance between the two. If I need to build if we had thought about building an ROI for an iPhone, I would have got a negative XIRR of, I don't know, thousands, right? Percentage points. How do I look at balancing the two? Truly innovating something, one. Number two, for incremental pieces, faster, better, cheaper, building innovation metrics around that. And standard metrics is looking at standard business cases for incremental is the way forward that we need to do. As a commercial organizations, we all do that. But we should not forget the role of doing true innovation where the ROI is an afterthought. It's not primary. Thanks.
Okay, so no matter what, but ROI matters for sure. Shelesh, slightly different view from you, I would expect, because I think specifically the credit companies on the retail side, or if I again go specifically on a personal loan side, have created remarkable innovation, underwriting different credit scores. In fact, लोग कपड़े कौन से पहनते हैं ये देख के लोग अभी लोन बैंक लोन देना शुरू कर रहे हैं. In fact, I see a lot of people, youngsters, taking loan to go on a date. Products like buy now, pay later, consumer durables, right? How do you actually intelligently look at such innovations in terms of creating a customer engagement? Because small ticket loans are also these loans are small ticket, perhaps not add a lot of value on ROI, but it is a customer engagement for you. So how do you intelligently develop customer engagement with these new age customers?
talk about new age customers, the key thing is everyone looks for the speed, how quickly and how easily they can basically get a loan.
Take mic closer to the.
Oh, okay. The key aspect is the speed at which they can get the loan, as an example that you're talking about. And so innovation from our perspective, we are focusing on a couple of things. From a customer experience perspective, the personalization. Before customer comes to your site or comes to the branch, how do you have intelligence built to look at their requirements? How easy is to basically look at using the AI technology, etc., Gen AI technology? What can you do to digitalize everything instead of physical, documentation, etc.? How can, as I think Mr. Shiv also mentioned, how you can do the data entry automatically instead of spending time on collecting information, etc. And the whole end-to-end from the application to disbursement, how quickly you can achieve it. All of these things require innovation. It requires basically new age technologies to implement.
I will come back to you and maybe learn more from you on that part. But Arif, taking again the customer engagement story, forward, the other panelists also spoke about it, why ROI matters when you speak about the innovation. How differently are you building the customer engagement? What kind of innovation are you building so that your customer engagement will be so powerful? Because obviously the number of insurance companies are still not huge, but the competition is still very high because of the pie is still limited, right? So how are you ensuring that your customer engagement is still strong? You will retain the customers, you will serve them better. How do you do that?
So Amol, when I start, I just like to quote Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos said, you have to be customer focused, right? And even the best customers are beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. So even if you talk to your best satisfied customer, he will have some feedback for you, okay? And insurance is the industry where customer touch points or customer engage is very low, very minimal, right? We renew a policy once a year, once in a while you make a claim. How do you improve the customer engagement? And that's the aspect which we are working on. And customer engagement has become a very important and critical for insurance companies because we don't engage with customer. So what we started building an ecosystem where we are able to engage with customer on a multiple aspect of it, right? And we are trying to make it more conversational. We are trying to make every experience count. So let's say if I have to write policy, I'm able to underwrite policy much faster, much in straight-through way. The wow moment or the moment where customer actually looks for insurance companies when they are launching a claim. I'm able to approve a cashless authorization for my health insurance claim when my customer is in hospital. And that's a moment of truth, right? That's a moment of, if I take 4 hours, 6 hours for a claim approval, somebody will lose their life or this one will get delayed. So we are emphasizing, saying we have to approve a claim in less than 20 minutes, less than 15 minutes. That's where all automation, digitization, how do I deploy AI, Gen AI capabilities are getting used. So today we take pride in saying that 99% of our claims gets approved, health claims gets approved in less than 20 minutes. And we are trying to automate our claims on the auto side. So some of those technological interventions helping us improve that customer engagement, customer wow moment, which is the moment where we actually engage with the customer.
Okay, so response should be very quick so that you can...
Response should be very quick. It has to be wow, basically. It has to give that experience to the customer. So our core focus is on customer, saying how do you change the customer experience during those times when actually customer engages with us.
So basically you want to settle the claims like Zepto. 10 minutes my claim delivery.
So that's what we want to do that. We want to say, I'm able to approve at least the cashless request for the customer within 15 minutes time.
No, sure. Srinath, we spoke about innovation a lot, but no matter how CIO, CXO is so powerful in building the innovation, hackers are far more superior because they have to only hack it, right? That's where their focus is. So on the security part, what are your views? Because implementing security, building those firewalls is equally important, no matter how intelligent innovation that the companies build, right? So would you like to share some views on that, how BFSI companies should do that?
Hello, yes. So I think So security is not something that never given to end, right? Because the thing is, whenever innovation happens, it go and help both the sides. Especially when the AI, etc. comes in, there's a lot of possibilities for the attacker to use. So what that means is, it's a never-ending target, right? This keep moving, and it'll never end. But so I think, like for example, recent zero trust kind of architecture is trying to go beyond earlier. So if you go through the like history, earlier we were trying to secure systems by putting a boundary around it and basically say you can't enter, we'll trust inside, right? But the way with the contact points are growing, that doesn't look like it'll be sustainable. I mean, we are holding off, right? But a lot of things are opening. And then, of course, with the AI, etc. coming in, this attack will intensify. So we need to, I think, go into this, this new ideas such as zero trust means check everywhere, and then also know the context. Like, for example, the way you want to look at the security for a $10 deal and $1 million deal is very, very different, right? So these are the ideas. But there's no magic bullet, unfortunately, right? So it has to continue.
Okay, it has to continue. Like that story of Frankenstein, monster is growing, we do not know how to tame it. That's where, you know, the security part is. So noted your points. Thank you for your patience, you know, Premalakshmi ji. And my question to you is specifically on the cloud part now, because I think cloud has become a base for many innovations when it comes to data accessibility. So the question to you is, how are cloud technologies reshaping the capabilities of the BFSI companies, specifically in the digitization journey? While they talk about intelligent innovation, the journey of the digitization with the cloud capabilities is far more important.
Sure. So thanks, Amol. So what we have seen is traditionally banking financial services as an industry has been very regulated. They focus largely in terms of security and compliance, right? But these banking financial institutions today are probably looking at making the changes based on how the market demands are, how the customer needs are changing, what is the competitive innovation that's coming in, how is technology disabling some of the existing setups, and therefore they have to continuously disrupt and innovate themselves. While they think of doing that, cloud becomes a great opportunity for them, both in terms of driving agility, scalability, as well as in terms of making data-driven decisions. So if you were to look at just the cloud infrastructure standpoint, it helps in terms of modernizing your legacy systems, thereby helping you to kind of optimize, drive better operations, also in terms of bringing in better agility and scalability, which currently the on-premise environments doesn't do. When you look at the cloud platforms, what it can do with AI-powered automation, and I think every single CIO, CTO talked about it today, right? How do I improve, how do I reduce some of the manual tasks? How do I kind of simplify or automate by bringing in better process engineering with whatever we do, whether it is in terms of faster loan processes, improving customer experience, bringing in better personalization for customer engagement, or it is in terms of quicker, faster speed to market. All this is something which an AI-powered cloud platform can enable. So we talked about infrastructure modernization, automation, and if you look at how cloud can bring in better data-driven decisions, in the past, the data was all over the place within the enterprise, right? And it's true for banking, financial companies too. And with the help of cloud, they are able to bring everything together into a single source of truth, see how you can leverage that data to make real-time decisions, better insights, and that kind of helps them to kind of see how they're able to disrupt their business, as well as in terms of leapfrogging, in terms of their growth, productivity, and profitability. So overall, from a digitalization standpoint, banks and financial institutions have been adopting cloud in a large way, whether it is in terms of driving better outcomes, operational efficiency, in terms of customer engagement, in terms of improving their profitability, also in terms of improving their processes. I think this adoption will continue to grow, and I will bring in more resilience and as well as a competitive edge in terms of how they would want to grow and how do they want to drive innovation.
Certainly, in fact, that was a meaningful perspective. Thanks for sharing. We'll come back to you with similar questions in the second round. But let me come back to you, Shiv sir, again, and my specific question to all of you. Shiv sir, to begin with, a lot of innovation has already been done. KYC already automated हो गया है, वीडियो KYC से अकाउंट ऑटोमेटेड खोल सकते हैं आप, लोन 10 मिनट में भी मिल रहा है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऑलरेडी सॉर्ट आउट हो गई है. अभी नया क्या? What kind of innovation will make banks really transform? I often think, will Zepto deliver loan at my home? Will Swiggy, come to my home with a banking account and everything? What kind of innovation is now, remaining with you, and what are you working on now?
I think there are, as you said rightly, the banks were ahead of even the instant commerce, where the instant loans have been getting distributed from past 10, 12 years. Depends on what maturity of the digitization of the processes or customer facing experiences they are. Many global banks have been there way back 14, 15 years. And a lot of Indian banks in last 10 years have embarked on that journey very aggressively. Now the next set is, in terms of as you set the context at the start of this conclave, I think it is one having a very differentiative experience, leveraging the newer technology stacks, whether it is to do with the artificial intelligence driven approach with Gen AI, how that can help in the customer acquisition is one area, or day-to-day customer service, where the conversational bots are going to make the experience. Even if you for authenticating yourself, you have to definitely touch the digital endpoints on any of the form factor. But to carry out the operation, you don't need to go through the jargons of the UI UX, how good the UI UX is designed for that mobile app or of the web front ends. The conversation bot should be able to understand your intent, should be able to lead you to the right UI UX control over there, and see your verbal commands getting executed. So you have a the coordination between your eyes and the voice, which is ensuring that what is your intent in the verbal conversation is coming, and using your vision, you can see that it is rightly executing for you. So that part, that is a one very, very big area where conversational services are going to step in more and more. That is one big area of the now when we look at the customer segment, as you rightly said, but I don't agree with you where you are mentioning that a lot of senior citizens don't have the the smartphones. But I can tell you all our grannies and nannies have the smartphones, and they are flipping all the Instagrams and Facebooks, and they are conversating based on the images. So that the motor skills they have developed based on the image-based memory of the human. So that is where the artificial intelligence is going to bring the different language of the customer experience to be designed, and that is one segment, the senior citizen segment, where you have mentioned that they still you can see for the life certificate, based on the Aadhaar and the facial I think the banks are not yet there, but I think the life certificate, which is the government initiative for the mobile app, they have drawn the leaf from the Apple facial authentication, and that has already gone ahead. So right now you will see the lot of government initiatives for the welfare of the citizens. So a lot of citizen services are going ahead where a lot of banks are there. And a lot of private sector banks are in India are lacking in those areas very clearly. And a lot of private sector institutions have to bring those innovations, rather than keep on sitting in their ivory towers. The government stacks are, so that is another big area. As I said, the senior citizen is a one where I think leveraging those kind of their skills of using social media, I think those are the UI, UX aspects to serve them better is another big innovation area where I think banks have to work on.
Okay, I'm sure you kind of give feedback to my point which I read in the welcome address also, apart from the question that I asked you. Noted your point, Shiv sir. Ravi, coming back to you on specifically AI, AI is a flavor of the season. Everyone is using artificial intelligence far more aggressively. I want you to tell us what kind of benefit that the banks will have by using AI, and how are you strengthening yourself, after using AI in your business, customer engagement and everything?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. See, we've got to go beyond what the flavor of the season is, right? And are you in it for the long haul? I would like to start here by looking at what's the foundation, right? And we talk a lot about AI, but I think the underlying foundation is, data. So you've got to get, the data landscape and the ecosystem, right. And I think one of my esteemed panelists also mentioned about how data is coming together. So that becomes a true foundation. And if you have that strong foundation, we've seen that, models with AI have, really enabled us to look at data through a very different lens, and the models get trained on it. And that can then be coupled back to what I said earlier in terms of both on the customer service side and the customer experience from an acquisition standpoint. So we've seen a lot of benefits, in that. There's still a long journey to go because the data landscape itself in, banks are fairly complex, right? I mean, with multiple products, multiple dimensions, etc. And many a times, it's not necessarily very cohesive, in terms of how the business historically has grown. So, that data landscape is a challenge in its own right. And I think most banks are making progress, but the pinnacle is yet to come. And with that, you could gain a lot of benefit. The challenge, if you don't get the foundation right, is you could get the models trained on not the accurate set of data, which could have severe implications again from what the customer experiences it. If you're using it for cross-sell opportunities, if you're using it for anything to be more preemptive based on your knowledge of the data, you can actually end up representing your institution poorly and thereby impacting that customer experience. So put the right foundation, I think build the models, train the models. You got to be a little bit patient because the model has to be trained before you see the benefits of it. So again, ROI is important, but it may just have a slightly longer time frame for you to realize the ROI, but you need to stay on the journey.
So noted your points. I think longer time frame is a meaningful point there, Ravi. Rohit, first of all, I'm sure you and Arif must be very happy with the 100% FDI in insurance.
Yes, obviously.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Arif, I would like to know कब हो रहा है 100% FDI, नई moves क्या है बाद में FDI के बाद. But Rohit, a lot has happened specifically in insurance in terms of online to app, partnerships with banks and new players. But our distributions are still not, to the level where we expected. I'm not saying it has not reached to a level at all, but the penetration is still very less. We have so many aggregators now. Earlier it was only agent and a bank assurance partner. What do you think what kind of innovation will actually strengthen insurance and take it to the next level, where the penetration will be comfortable and will proudly say, oh, now certain part of people are insured?
So if you look at evolution of human behavior and technology, we've moved from website to a portal to a mobile app, and now we're slowly moving to chat-based transactions which we are going on to. If you would see most of the distribution or most of the time as a human behavior where we spent on is the chat window that we are onto. And that's where the distribution is moving also from our standpoint. So it will be, earlier we used to say website, then portals, then we used to say mobile first. Now it's probably WhatsApp or whatever chat that you use first. So that's the transition from a human behavior and a technology standpoint, which is happening, which will go on. So what does this mean from insurance standpoint? Insurance is a push product, right? So from an insurance standpoint, it will be embedded. More and more, you will embed insurance into multiple products, into the transactions. It's a protection policy. Whatever risk you're taking, protection has to be embedded on top of it. So that's how it will move forward from here on. Second part of it is in terms of where we would see this moving with respect to newer set of technologies. I would rather say we would move to a more personalized dynamic pricing for the customer, right? With X technologies, let's not talk about technology, but it will be personalized dynamic process. It will be personalized product selling, bundle selling, goal-oriented, financial goal-oriented products which are getting defined and designed for you specific, for the customer specifically. That's where it will move to. Third part of it is around, the moving between stakeholders, and that is something that is coming up as another point of friction for the customer, and that is getting eased with the use of blockchain, especially on the claim side. And blockchain on the claim side will help us to an instant, trustable source for getting the claims for us as insurance companies and for the customers as well. So those are the key things that is there.
Sure, Shelesh, I will come to you slightly later, but Arif, you also want to add on to it the same point?
So I think point well taken, distribution and penetration is still low for insurance. And if you look at what's the prime reason is primarily the awareness. Okay, a lot of people, I'm not sure in the audience, or let's say if you go and talk within your circle itself, home insurance is a category, I don't think so it's even 0.1% in India. Auto insurance is very popular because that's mandated, regulated, and that's why it's there. Health insurance is only 6%, Indian household has a 6% health insurance. So one is the awareness part of it, the second is the trust part of it. And trust will come only when you start giving them the claims experience, and people will start experiencing the services of insurance. And I said this before also, right? You experience insurance. What do we sell? We sell only a promise, right? It's the promise saying we'll be with you when you will need a financial assistance for us, right? And till that time you don't experience, you don't see a value. Generally, mindset is saying, okay, what will I get when I buy insurance? You don't realize that you will need it when there will be a financial exigency or financial emergency will be there. And people generally want to have a financial safety tool, not the financial insurance tool. So insurance is the risk mitigation part of it, and that's where awareness and distribution becomes more important. And we are trying to create that awareness through a lot of campaigns, a lot of this, but distribution plays an important part of it. And then I think Rohit talked about that. So how do you engage customer one-on-one basis? How do we make it more conversational? Today at my call center, 60% of the call is saying, okay, what does my policy cover? Is this covered? Is this not covered? So how do you take away that uncertainty saying, okay, if I would have bought insurance, everything is covered for me. So we are trying to go to that level where we say everything is covered. You go to the hospital and all expenses and charges have been taken care of. So that's how we are trying to build that customer confidence into the product which we are trying to sell to the customer.
Okay. Sure. Shelesh, on the tech part, while innovation and everything has been discussing, we are at an aggressive level. But the question that I have is, is managing tech expenses or tech spend easy? How do you convince your board, management, CEOs? Because as we are talking about innovation, the cost of tech is also going up, right? So how do you look at that overall value of the technology?
I think you said it right. Basically, it's always a question that board asks, basically, what is it and why you want to invest, right? So we talked about the ROI, but in addition to just the ROI, from a tech spending perspective, if you look at the innovation, there are a number of areas that can be done, right? If I look at my own organization, we are looking at about 60 plus use cases to get into AI, Gen AI space. Now, what to do and how do you prioritize? So spending has to come with from multiple angles. Not every single thing need to be done today. So you need to prioritize and look at what is the business benefit or how it is aligned to your business goal, whether it's about you're looking at more efficiency, better customer experience, or ease of doing business, right? Any of these aspects. On top of that, while we have a lot of decisions to make in terms of whether we go cloud route or SaaS route to on-prem, etc., these decisions, we need to, the key aspect is it sustainable? Do you have the right governance to control the cost over a period of time? And whatever strategy and decisions you are making in terms of the tech spend, is it for longer term or just a short term? I think if it's not something like, I use the phrase toys for boys kind of thing, that we need to get everything done, look good that we have done this, but is it sustainable? Is it long term and part of the strategy? Are the key areas to balance, to look at the tech spend and the benefits out of it?
Okay. What I will do is I will also take questions from you. Be ready. I will ask my team to get ready with the mic while I come back to you very, very soon. Srinath, the biggest challenge that we all are facing today is digital arrest. I'm sure many of from the audience also must have received one or two calls or something. Has anyone received a call for digital arrest? Yes. Look at the number of the hands there. My question to you is again on the security part. Don't worry, I'm not asking you specifically on the digital arrest part. But the question to you is, while the banks are innovating a lot on the customer, the business, building engagements, do you think they should also spend a lot of time on innovating now security and how the hackers will think, and that front innovation should be now more higher perhaps than the customer engagement?
Okay.
Maybe you can add some security, privacy factors, how the bank should look at that.
So I think banks safeguard one of the most important things in the economy, right? So it's a natural target for attacks, right? I think that. Okay, so there are security tools, right? There are security tools, and you would buy them, and you get certain level of security. But I think because the banks are at the forefront of these attacks, I think they need to very actively keep looking at it and trying to innovate. Because the tools, there's a cycle of updating. Because the certain kind of attacks will come, those attacks would be identified, and then the tools will add that. It takes time, right? So now banks can't afford to let that time last. So now the tool vendors, of course, stay on this. They try to stay ahead, but the banks has day-to-day experience on case by case. So I think the banks also need to innovate, trying to stay on top of that. Of course, be aware of what's around there, but actively look at what's going on. Because again, if you take AI, now vendors don't have access to that AI, that data that might help those AI go, but the banks can use that. So my belief is they need to actively keep investing into that.
They should actively invest in and look at it. Sure.
Yeah, so I'll quickly add on to it. I think security is an afterthought is the problem, right? We need to shift left from a security standpoint. We definitely need to build. If you build 3 doors in the room, obviously there are 3 doors. You might tend to monitor them after that endlessly, but there are 3 doors you already built. So you need to shift left from a security standpoint. Build security at design stage, not like you build a system and throw it for VAPT and then start covering up. So that's a crucial point.
No, sure. Premalakshmi ji, another question is specifically again on AI and Gen AI. Ravi partly spoke about AI, he gave his perspective, but on a tech perspective, what I want you to tell us is, we are constantly innovating, and AI is a flavor of the season. So AI, Gen AI, is become the theme of the, innovation today. How much of AI and Gen AI is solving real problems versus being an industry-wide FOMO?
Thanks, Amol. See, I think we all agree that today AI or Gen AI is clearly at an inflection point, and irrespective of whatever industry or business, we all want to see real business value, right? So when we look at real business value, yes, there are few areas, as we all discussed about. It could be in terms of automation and efficiency, right? It could be, the regular, mundane tasks or manual tasks which can be automated with the help of AI or Gen AI capabilities. Example, it could be like a customer service. In customer service, how could repetitive calls be managed by digital bots? And that kind of improves your efficiency, at the same time customer experience. The second layer which most of us touch today is in terms of personalization, right? How can Gen AI be leveraged? It could be in terms of e-commerce, especially e-commerce industry, or I see this in content management or creative companies. They leverage Gen AI very fastly to see how could I personalize content to my users. Simple, at home we see Netflix or we use Amazon, and every time we go back, we get personalized content, right? And also in terms of, I would say, how do you design even health insurance plans or health plans, healthcare plans for the individual? So there's a lot of personalization that comes in, which is solving real world challenges, right? And look at healthcare as an industry. If I were to look at healthcare as an industry today, bringing Gen AI actually helps us to kind of diagnose, I would say risks or, I would say health issues early enough. And that also brings in an opportunity to be able to create drugs or the research in terms of, bringing in curation to, to any health or illness standpoint, right? So there's a lot of, I would say, that in that industry is definitely disrupting in terms of delivering better outcomes, in terms of how do you get accessible to healthcare faster, right? Specific to banking financial services, most of them touched upon in terms of, can I leverage Gen AI in terms of customer engagement? Can I use AI and Gen AI to kind of identify fraud early enough and mitigate risks, right? So that becomes super critical. In terms of any business intelligence, right? AI, Gen AI again gets used to it, right? How do I bring in, AI in terms of managing my data efficiently and also bring those insights in real time? So I do see that Gen AI and AI is being able to solve real world challenges. But the second part of the question that you asked is interesting, right? I mean, what's the FOMO? While there is a lot of good work and use cases which is getting adopted across the industries, I do believe organizations and companies are also jumping in to say, hey, look, I don't want to get missed out. And hence, they quickly adopt some AI solutions, not very sure in terms of what the impact is, also not being very clear in terms of whether it really solves their business challenges. So there is always that over-enthusiasm which comes in. The second challenge I do see is in terms of hype versus reality, right? Today, yes, there are a lot of Gen AI models which are solving problems, but need not necessarily give the results which exactly the business needs. So there is, I would say, a fair amount of human intervention which is still required to be able to fine-tune those results, to kind of augment that results, and to bring in the right nuances for decision making. So I wouldn't say that Gen AI can give you a perfect result, right? The third is definitely in terms of data privacy, the way of ethically using AI. And when we start looking at AI or Gen AI across your data, the most important concern, especially in the BFSI segment, will be how secure my data is. Is my data being wrongly accessed by unauthorized users? What's the privacy and how do I govern or manage it? And also there are deep fakes and misrepresentation or misinformation, poor management of algorithms which happens in Gen AI, leading to, I would say, accurate or not accurate results, right? So I would say today we are at a point where AI, Gen AI can solve real challenges, business challenges, but at the same time, industry is continuously trying to see how do we make the best use of this technology in a way that it is, being able to create the right business impact. So I would say it is a mix. We'll have to wait and watch to see, how this evolution happens in the near future to kind of balance, to strike the right balance between solving the problems and the fear of missing out.
Sure. So it's not FOMO. It's real. It's real. There is one more term which I recently learned, which is, just very, very similar to FOMO, called JOMO. And I really like that. Joy of missing out, if you don't know that. I will take some questions from the audience. If anybody has any question. Yes, can we have a mic there on the first table? Can you have a mic there on the first table, please? I will just come to you to save the time. And
good morning, everyone. The question to my esteemed panelist is that IT has been there since more than 30 years, nearly 30 years, since the dot-com bubble, dot-com is there, right? But we have always been looked at as the support vertical and not a revenue vertical, even now after we doing a lot of digital transformation projects. So why can't we see IT as the revenue center and not a support center?
I'll take that. My favorite pet peeve. But from our standpoint, I think it's us to blame, nobody else, as tech professionals. There are 4 stages. One, where you looked at as a utility. Second, you looked at as an enabler. Third, you looked at as a partner. Fourth, which is where you digitally driving business. IT is driving business, right? It's up to us. How do we add value? How do we portray that value? And how do we actually, are able to harvest that and drive that in boardroom conversations? That's the
right, sir. But then still, like, if you see like micro loans and we give that, right, the digital transformation now, everything is through the websites and through the mobile apps. So which means we are sourcing the business. So why aren't we considered as a revenue center?
Yeah, I'll probably add on to what Rohit just said. I think the question is, the opportunities for us to grab. I don't think it's going to come our way and say, now, you are going to be a revenue center. The question is, are we also comfortable taking the P&L accountability that comes with it? Or are we going to, look the other way?
If there is incentive, why not? Because, usually it is like a support center. We work with that mindset of being a support center.
And that's what, like, for example, when we talked about innovation, I talked about culture and mindset. So I think there's a lot of cultural mindset transformation that needs to happen within our own technology organizations, where we feel that, we are, at least to begin with, go beyond partners and say, I have a real, skin in the game in terms of what the revenue somebody is making. And that's a conversation I have with my people. I said, when systems are down, today's day and age, no customer has patience, right? And that's the reality of life. So you've got to accept it. So, are you appreciative of somebody who's actually on the ground selling the product? And it's a highly competitive marketplace. There's, hundreds of insurance companies, hundreds of banks, private sector, public sector that's competing for the business. So do we have that mindset? I think if we have that mindset and we change the culture and ways of working within our own organization, I think, you will have a seat on the table. And I think at least in our bank, IT is looked at, as someone that is, directly influencing the top line and bottom line of the organization. That's kind of, at least I can speak for our bank.
But our incentives are never linked to that way, right? The entire thing goes to the digital transformation head or someone who is looking from the business side.
It's a journey.
We'll take another question.
I'll
The
just take
conversation
last
can
30
go
seconds.
on.
It's a journey to
Can we
go
have
through
one more
that.
question? Yeah.
So in
Can
our
we have-
organization,
can we have
our
mic there?
incentives are linked to
Okay, you have a mic, please go
business. So I don't have a separate incentive, basically.
So good morning, everyone. The question is to Rohit and Arif. Ever since insurance has been in the Indian landscape, we have always been saying it's a push product, right? but when we buy the vehicle, we have to buy the vehicle insurance. Do you see the role of regulator or maybe government at helm to kind of create the obligation for us to buy health insurance as well in coming years as a mandatory thing? Like we get salaries, like most of us are salaried people. So can there be a way for us to get out of this thing that insurance is a push product and make it a pull product?
So he's giving an ideas to the regulator actually.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at it, the regulator is being very supportive on this, and I think IRD especially is running insurance for all by 2047. If you would have read about that, there are a lot of initiative which is happening, and 100% FDI is also one of that initiative where they want more player to enter so that there is a lot of competition, and competition actually pushes you to improve the penetration in the market. See, making mandatory, I don't think that's a solution, right? So how do you make it accessible? How do you make it affordable? I think that's what regulator is working on. And it has to be, when we talk about it, we said insurance has to be fair, fast and friendly. Okay, so you have to be fair to the customer. And today, why the people are not buying insurance primarily is the trust gap, right? So a lot of people have that uncertainty whether my claims will get, what will I get out of it, right? So till that time, you're not able to, so anything like, if you talk about the e-commerce platform, right? Why were they were able to successful? The primary reason which in our mind is that replacement or return policies, right? That has created a lot of confidence in the customer saying, okay, if something goes wrong, I'll be able to return the product and I'll get my money back, refund back. And this is a trust, right? This is a trust between the customer and the provider. And if once we are able to build that trust in the customer, I think penetration and everything else will go up there from there.
Sure, sure. One more question from this side, one quickly, as quickly as possible. Please stand up and try to be loud. Right. Yes. Absolutely. Got your point. Rohit, do you want to go ahead? Quickly, I mean, you can also add.
So I think we have started experimenting with AI, and I'll come to GenAI later with the AI. And as I said in my previous statement also, today our cashless health claims, okay, we are able to approve in 20 to 30 minutes primarily. The reason because we have deployed AI solution there. If it's a straight-through claim, we would have approved it in the past. So AI model look at it and then straight away approve. So it's like if it's a COVID fever or let's say it's a cataract surgery or some of these straight-through claims went through straightly. The complexity comes, you have some of the critical claims, the large claims which starts coming in, right? Where you have to understand there is a provider side also, right? The moment you say you have an insurance, you know what kind of a conversation happens in the hospital side of it versus when you say you don't have an insurance. So to build some of these gaps, there are the manual interventions are there, but only to those exceptions is what we are trying to limit to. And now we are taking it to Gen AI level where we are trying to deploy Copilot for our claim adjudicators, where Gen AI tool is able to summarize saying, okay, this is the diagnosis, this is what the treatment is, so we call it standard treatment guidelines. So against that, we adjudicate the claim and then say whether the doctor is able to take call faster, saying, okay, then I'm able to approve it or I'm able to reject it. Similar things are started happening on the auto side of it, saying, okay, there's a left door damage, whether it needs to get repaired or it needs to get replaced. My Gen AI solution is able to say, okay, in 90% of the scenarios where the left door was damaged, we have approved the replacement part of it. So then you just go ahead and approve the replacement. So that's how we are trying to expedite some of this claim settlement part of it. But I still believe we are not reached a level where it will be 100% automated for the claim adjudication part of it. Underwriting, I think in 99% we have already reached where we are able to do the underwriting automatically through some of these AI models and Gen AI models.
Thank you. Thank you, Arif. I think the time is over. Thank you for those questions. Those were quite intelligent questions, actually. Part of intelligent innovation session. Thank you so much, for being part of this conversation and sharing meaningful thoughts. Thank you so much.